Hello, this is Ron Watson. I welcome you to the next PTC User Invited Speaker Series. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the philosophy of product structure in Windchill by Heather Pomerene from Orbital ATK. This webinar is co-sponsored by PTC User and Punditas. Next slide, please. So, PTC User's mission, support, educate, and advocate. It's all down to all of you. So how do you get involved? Well, you can certainly volunteer like Heather has and many others have to host an upcoming webinar. You also can share tips and tricks with your fellow PTC users. Participate in upcoming panel discussion. We had one last year and it was highly successful engagement. Or you can send a short video on how to use a specific feature and we can share that with the community. So if you want to contribute, please contact myself or Madhavi at the following email addresses. Next slide. So what's up next? Wow, we got a lot going on this year and the beginning of next year, so let me go through this. Of course, LiveWorks 18 is coming up next month, less than 1 month away. It's being held again at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. And you, of course, can go to liveworks.com to get further information. An important point, if you haven't registered, we encourage you to register. Please use the code PTCUser18. It is the best overall discount code, and it also provides support for PTC User in our mission. So all around a win-win for the upcoming event, which we're all looking forward to. Next slide. But when LiveWorks winds down on Wednesday, it's not quite over. So PTC Users Technical Community Open Forum Summer 2018 will begin on that afternoon and run through that Friday. It's at the same location as LiveWorks. However, it's a little bit different. We have 63 dedicated sessions. There's going to be a lot of networking. It's all about networking. You can join or start a working group. You'll have a lot of opportunities to talk about, things you're doing, things your peers are doing. The sponsors will be attending. Some of the sponsors as well are PTC User partners. So it's going to be quite an event on its own, but we encourage you to attend both LiveWorks and our open forum. Next slide. And for the first time here, we're announcing the PTC User Technical Community Open Forum Winter 2018. It will be held on January 22nd to 24th, 2019 at the Embassy Suites in North Charleston. It's actually at the Embassy Suites Charleston Area Convention Center. So it's an attached convention center. We encourage you to go to ptcuser.org. We have an early registration of $500, same fee as last year, until September 1, at which time the cost will go up. So early the better. We're going to have a lot of the same theme, but maybe a little bit more going on as we have a much bigger venue. You'll like the price of the rooms. This is pretty much unheard of in 2018-19 to have a $139 all-suite hotel. It's an all-suite Embassy Suites. I mean, can't beat that, including the complimentary breakfast. And so we'll have a free shuttle back and forth to the airport, which is 8 minutes in the shuttle kind of thing. And we're also worked out something very special on because you don't want to miss Charleston. It's a great city, and so Tuesday and Wednesday night we'll have a complimentary shuttle to go back and forth between the facility and downtown. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I visited there with my son earlier this year, and we had a great time. It's really a fun city. So again, I encourage you all to attend. Next slide. So we have our portal, and I'm not gonna talk too much about it, but there's some exciting things coming with the portal. Again, not ready to kind of reveal those yet, but all of you be really happy about it. But in the meantime, our portal is there. Please register. It's free to register. This presentation, this recording, and all previous presentations and recordings are on our portal and available to any registered user and member of PTC users. So again, we want you to share this information. Do not hold it back. Get it out there. Tell people, and it's our mission. It's all of our missions combined. So next slide. I'd like to now turn it over to Madhavi and to talk a little bit about Punditas. Madhavi?
Yep, thank you, Ron. So for those of you who are wondering why we are here talking about Punditas, it's because we are a partner of the PTC user organization, as Ron mentioned previously. And we bring these webinars to you, and we are a PTC user partner as well as a PTC partner as well. So who are we? We are a Boston-based product intelligence company, and we provide an AI platform that connects the dots between PTC products as well as other products, but between the product, the context that the user is working in, as well as the content that's out there for that product. So the content can be anything from tips and tricks to tutorials and issues and so forth. And the reason we do this, the connection between product, content, and context, is to help you, the software users of the PTC products, to be more productive and efficient and leverage more out of the software. So we, besides PTC, we have a number of other partnerships in place, and we have numerous customers using our software as well. So we offer a product called Punditas Advisor, and basically it delivers just-in-time tips, tricks, tutorials, opinions, discussions, issues, enhancements, and a whole range of product-related information that you will not get even if you were to go, spend all your time Googling or on any one of the vendor OEM websites as well, because we provide a structured, a personalized, and contextual information. So because it's an AI-based platform and we're connecting the dots and providing all the categories of information, it's a very visual platform. And for example, given the topic today is the product structure, and if you were to come into our software and look for information about product structure, you would get all of the inter-product related information. In this case, it's Windchill and Creo, and all of the different aspects of product structure as it pertains to Windchill and Creo. Not only do you see the two products that are, interdependent in most of the enterprises, but also all of the various aspects of it, like whether it's features, issues, discussions, or so forth. And we get information from over 180 sources. And this is not the same as Google search or a knowledge-based search in PTC, because what we are doing is tying up all of the pieces together. Given that it's an AI platform, it's continuously learning and based on the user's preference and the behavior and so forth. So if you are interested in learning more about our product, please feel free to contact me at my email, mramesh@punditas.com. With that said, I'd like to turn this over to Heather, and really briefly about Heather. As Ron mentioned, she's from Orbital ATK, and she's an accomplished senior level engineer with over 11 years in a broad-based expertise in various areas. I've had the opportunity to know Heather for a long time now, while I was at PTC and afterwards as well. And we are excited to hear about what Heather has to say in terms of the product structure topic today. And also a little bit about Heather outside of work. She runs a successful photography business, and I was surprised to hear that. And she's got some really cool pictures that she shot. So and it's very interesting. And she also helps the local high schools in the STEM fairs and so forth. So without further ado, let me turn this over to Heather. And I am going to make Heather the presenter here.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. All right. Madhavi, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Welcome, everyone. My name is Heather Pomerene, and like Madhavi said, I'm a senior principal mechanical engineer here at Orbital ATK. And today, I'd like to talk to you guys about the philosophy of product structure. Okay. I did want to just give a brief little background on Orbital ATK. We are the leading producer of solid rocket prop systems. We are the largest manufacturer of small and medium caliber ammunition, the primary supplier of long-range missile defense interceptors and target systems, and the major builder of satellites and related subsystems. So I specifically work in the space systems group here. We are one of the world's preeminent satellite developers, builders, and advanced space systems providers. We offer a broad portfolio of products for commercial, military, scientific, and international customers. We design, manufacture, and operate small to medium-class satellites for communications, imaging, science, and national security space applications. We're also a market-leading supplier of space components that power and enable satellites of all classes, and we're pioneering innovative in-orbit satellite servicing technologies. Orbital ATK brings efficiency and discipline of fixed-price commercial contracting to the human spaceflight market by providing cargo delivery services to the ISS under NASA's Commercial Resupply Services Program. And we did just capture to the ISS this morning on our latest launch. Okay, so for this presentation, this is what the focus is going to be. So many users get lost in the details of product structure, and it can be really overwhelming, since the emphasis usually is at a systems level, when in reality, systems is just one aspect of the entire product structure maintenance process. Product structure needs to take an interdisciplinary approach, and that's what I'm going to try to explain today. This presentation is going to be very broad speaking, and I'm not going to get very specific in terms of a product structure procedure, that of which I'm going to plan for another webinar. Instead, I'm going to focus on product structure as a fundamental concept and the importance of data quality. And I'm going to attempt to shift the mindset of users to think of the bigger picture of the product as a whole data model. So a little bit of the background of product structure use at Orbital ATK. So we develop similar product across all business areas. Therefore, a consistent, transparent, structured product structure management process is key to maximizing a product's benefit and effectiveness over its lifetime. So here we use a work breakdown structure, which helps us to organize specific tasks by subsystem for a typical spacecraft. And it also helps us to reduce complicated activities for product development. Now, looking at the graphic I have here, our typical product structures start at the top spacecraft, which is our product. Then that outlines our lower level configurations or our installations that are the elements which form the product. So within those installations, each subset of components or parts are defined. These are what will go into the design and manufacturing of a part. The top level of the product structure is flexibly designed to accommodate the varied purposes of any program and any type of product. So Orbital ATK is CAD-centric, therefore we do have Windchill automatically build product structures when the existing CAD is checked into the database via a WT Parts Owner Association. So we allow our product structures to be built roughly 80% of the way by CAD, with the remainder usually being bulk items, which we manually add from a library to the WT Part product structure. So we have also implemented model-based design, or MBD, and we're also fully PLM within Windchill. So what is a product structure? In its most crude physical form, obviously a product structure is simply a bill of materials or a BOM. But a product structure is a BOM, but a BOM is not a product structure. They are not mutually exclusive. And at this juncture right here is where most users' understanding of product structure ends. They view a product structure as just a BOM or a collection of parts. But a product structure can be much more than a BOM, and for Orbital ATK here, its principal purpose is to help users find relevant information, organize, and identify digital artifacts. Now, at its core, product structure is a subset of a larger data model. It is a hierarchical system architecture, allowing for a logical organization for a product containing elements, identifiers, interdependencies, and relationships. A product structure should be the backbone on which all processes are consistently maintained. And it is also a data set that consists of reliable engineering documentation and information that can be used by other disciplines. And by using uniform terminology and definition, it certainly helps to define the elements in the end product. Now, in addition, I would like to introduce the concept of meta-modeling and how a product structure truly is a collection of metadata applicable to fully define that product. Metadata can be inclusive of descriptive attributes and structural attributes. The former would contain information necessary for identification and physical properties, as well as 3D PMI or product manufacturing information. The latter would contain information about how the objects are put together and their versions and relationships. And if using configurable design, metadata could also include rules and choices or usage expressions. A product structure obviously can be visualized graphically as a tree or an indented listing. But why should you spend the time and effort to maintain a product structure, when in reality the real question we should be asking is why not? So by maintaining a product structure, it becomes highly variant, and this is the framework for reusability. But this is reliant on the fact that the product structure is focused on consistency and is being maintained throughout the design and configuration process. This reduces the work effort needed to maintain product structure. It also helps to manage variance. If a product structure is maintained from the start, this allows you to concentrate on the more serious pressing issues, obviously if necessary, without the need to clean up the data, which I know a majority of us have dealt with several times. The product structure is stable and self-sufficient. If you allow the software to perform its job, the knowledge is captured and cost and scope are contained with possible use of baselining and comparison. There is cost benefit in increasing and maintaining data quality with the reduction of errors and failures, as well as providing informed product insight and sharing of controlled documentation. Now, design by discipline. So by maintaining a robust product structure, this allows the design environment to have product design efforts spread across multiple subsystems, therefore supporting product iteration development and successful concurrent engineering. So you should also incorporate a level of detail into your data set such that the data model conveys as much as possible, without being overly complex, all information pertaining to the product. So having a somewhat high level of granularity allows for a deeper, more detailed, and structured set of information and manipulation. However, the major impact of granularity, though, is on maintenance. So this is why there is an importance for upkeep of the product structure throughout the lifespan. So by implementing this, it allows for a single source data point for multiple end users and disciplines presenting and extracting product information. Using the tools you have here to build a robust, well-defined product data set ensures consistent and accurate product definition, reuse, and long-term archival. This is crucial for capturing intellectual property and allows for efficient data exchange both internally and externally. Consistent use of these standards also translates to easier analysis and publishing of product information. And as a result, it allows for more robust and efficient design and collaboration with, like I said, a single source data point that can easily handle complex relationships. High-quality engineering design is crucial to the success of a strong product structure and vice versa. So how do you maintain a product structure? So the how for us here at Orbital starts with the top-down design method. And with this, critical information is placed at the highest level, and that will then feed the lower levels of our product structure as necessary. This allows our overall design information to be maintained in one central location, product requirements and design parameters are captured as design intent here, and affords the framework for interchangeability if necessary. Using Windchill, understanding WT parts is integral to the success in maintaining a product structure. The WT part can be considered as a center point from which you can navigate to other areas, such as a CAD file, Word document, or any other object. So I like to tell my users here that a good way to visualize the WT part is the anchor for a story or the index from which all important details can be found. And from here, it is a vehicle for assigning work and capturing scope. So for Orbital, this was the most misunderstood aspect of Windchill, and the second most misunderstood aspect was the relationships for which your WT part is responsible. The product structure that is currently in production can also be compared to a new product structure under development to reveal the impact of the proposed changes. Relationships and attributes for supporting product information are used to determine the quantity and scope of the work to be done. So a generic template that includes an information framework and structure for the WT part should be the architect of the new product. The steps are predetermined, and this allows for consistency and reusability down the line. Using a generic product template permits for conservation of a minimum set of requirements for attributes, product characteristics, and metadata mapping and transparency throughout the entire lifecycle. And something I do here, what I like to call data integrity checks throughout any and all phases of the engineering design flow, also allows for confirmation of completeness and consistency across the product line. So the product structure is the central construct in all phases of product development. It truly is the backbone on which the product framework is based. So it is of crucial importance to build up an appropriate information infrastructure or meta model. Without this, the iterating nature of most engineering departments will then lead to problems and inconsistencies that are unfortunately detected when it is too late, which then lead to exhaustive rework cycles. However, maintaining a data model enables object-oriented system modeling and visualization, relationship viewing, global collaboration, document and file management, and easy transfer of deliverables to consumers. So, a robust product structure should be inclusive of all necessary metadata. Meta modeling attributes brings together various product metadata and maps it to a data model by means of a product structure. Metadata modeling allows clarity for reuse and restructuring, as well as identifying like parts and/or assemblies. But just accounting for metadata in titles or descriptions isn't robust enough to maintain a solid product architecture, and this is not a strategy for success. So as I stated earlier, metadata can be inclusive of descriptive and structural elements. This could include descriptions or identifiers, PMI, tagging, requirements, specifications, substitutes. It can also include attributes such as usage expressions, cage codes, parameters maybe from Creo, occurrences, material, document categories, as well as relationships and associations between engineering documentation such as analysis or test results, work instructions, secondary content, version iteration or change control information, baselines, packages, and problem reports. So, along all aspects of the engineering design process, as a function of time and maturity, a product structure becomes the basis for which the entire product is defined. Product structure is a living document, and as a program matures, the product architecture should be optimized for functional performance. It is the hub in all engineering phases, and it is the common thread for all development between requirements, design, and integration. So at product initiation, the requirements are defined and the system is configured, preferably from a generic product template. And from here, all specifications and characteristics are outlined for the systems and their functions. And to avoid repeating work, already existing solutions should be considered at this phase. So then during the design phase, the specific product requirements that were previously defined are then mapped to a product structure and possibly into a CAD deliverable if necessary. Reuse cases can be addressed during this phase of design as well. So the concepts for each component are captured during this phase, and at this point, it is possible to visualize the concept defined during the first phase. And with a strong architecture as a backbone, requirements can continue to mature during this phase with minimal impact on the product structure. So if maintained throughout, then during the final integration phase, the product structure should be fully vetted with final verification and maintenance only. And a strong product structure is necessary to be the common link and also to coordinate between all phases. So without this, it is very hard to manage because most coordination is done offline. That's not a way to succeed. A solid product structure is necessary to reduce risk, identify new risk, and reduce time spent between phases. So you might be saying, that's all great, but who is responsible for this huge product structure effort? So a coordinated team obviously is critical to the success of a robust data model throughout the life cycle of the product. And obviously what I have shown here is just a small example. But each team player contributes to the maintenance of the product structure and the overall data model. When the process is employed practically through a robust but flexible management and communication strategy, controlling large data sets becomes more logical to all team members. All players involved from the start to the finish of the life cycle should take into account the importance of meta-modeling and adhere to a specific workflow. If one person is managing a product structure with the task of assigning metadata, it becomes burdensome, whereas if multiple players contribute to the effort in a similar fashion, the task becomes more manageable. So, if a product structure is not maintained, intellectual property is not captured and costs rise. Therefore, the inherent risk will escalate. There's not going to be any consistency and there are missed opportunities for quality control. If product structure is maintained, you greatly increase opportunity to understand cost, and all work is captured from one single data point. So change management is often improperly executed. Now, a simple oversight in performing a change notice may result in more work, and then effectivity is not accurate. This simple concept formed the idea for my push for product structure philosophy. Because as long as they get there, most users have the tendency to want to get from point A to point B in any fashion that suits them, paying no mind to what might be happening in the background. Meanwhile, the wheels are in motion for things that they can't see. The issues then propagate, and this causes an exponential amount of work for the Windchill admin to fix. We train our users in a way that says you must do it this way, but we never actually say why it needs to be done in this way. For example, if on an implementation plan you revise the CAD first, then go back and add the WT part and revise it, the association between the most recent revision of the CAD and WT part has already been broken. But to the everyday Windchill user, their end result still looks the same, so they don't see a problem. Now, the graphic shown here is an example of a broken product structure. And if you're already educated on why this is a problem, then you should be diligent to try to stay on top of these issues. But many times, a user will manually edit a product structure, either by updating quantities or deleting components without paying mind to the build status from the CAD. So most times when this happens, when prompted to sync with CAD, the user says no because they think they're going to break something. But unbeknownst to them, by doing this, the product structure reporting for that specific item is now broken, and the CAD owner is no longer reporting the correct instance for that product structure. This unassuming error would result in a rebuild function, and even then, it would need to be executed in the proper way to ensure applicability. So for those of you who attended my presentation last year at LiveWorks, where I spoke about configurable design, I briefly discussed this issue and the pain point I had within the environment of options and variance functionality. So in the context of configurable design, every single product structure error or oversight needs to be addressed prior to configuring. So this specific step isn't addressed anywhere in the PTC University training. I discovered this truly by trial and error. Now, when I was configuring a subsystem here, roughly 75% of my time dedicated to the effort was actually spent fixing the product structure issues in the assemblies below what I was trying to configure. So this ties back into the first point. Intellectual property is not maintained, and then the cost to fix it rises. So because of the mistakes and misunderstanding of the daily users and the effects on options and variants, the blame for the rising cost is usually placed onto the process from which the costs are applied, when in reality it stems from training users to understand why they need to operate and manage product structure in a certain way. This is the mindset that needs to be adopted, irrespective of industry or PLM platform. And I really cannot emphasize this point anymore. So I would like to summarize my last slides here with one thought. So by relieving the apprehension that users have for product structure maintenance with the use of intuitive training, hopefully that will get all users into the same realm of thinking about the architecture framework. And with any luck, hopefully I've opened your minds to the possibility of robust product data models. And as such, I'm going to end this presentation with a simple question. What do we need to do as a design community to further educate and make the user base appreciate the benefits of product structure? And I'd like to open this now to questions. Okay, so I have one here from Robert Pence. In Windchill product structure, what is the meaning of the double gear icon, brown and gray gear overlapping? That was, actually was part of my configurable design. So this specific icon is a configurable module. Okay, sorry guys, there's a lot of questions coming in here. So I see another question here from Andreas. Do you use the Relationship Explorer? Yes, and actually that's a great example of essentially the meta model that I was talking about earlier. All mapped, all of that metadata. You can expand that with all of the documents, all related CAD documents, gear parts, document tree, all of that good stuff through the Relationship Explorer. Okay, so, and then Bill Ryan, did you use CAD to drive WT part structure, or did the WT part structure come from another system? So we use our CAD to initiate our WT part structures. Like I had said in a previous slide, roughly 80% of our product structure is driven from our CAD, and then the remainder is usually managed separately through Windchill. Let's see, Mike Lockwood, do you have to manage multi-CAD or just Creo parametric? We just manage Creo here in Windchill. Oh, and Rich White, I mentioned that I used to spend 70% of my time making repairs to the product structure. did I fix this 70% work by distributing it or by making it go away? So that specifically was for the configurable design effort. So 70% of my time spent in attempting to configure. So I had previously set up all of my usage expressions and my choices and everything in Windchill. And then when I went to actually configure the WT part, at that point, if your product structures down below what you're trying to configure are not correct, or the build status isn't right, you're going to be prompted with errors. And you're going to be prompted with one error for every single error. So you can have a whole list of errors when you go try to configure, and you cannot configure without fixing those errors. So that's where my 70% of my time spent just from the configure function came from. I had to track down every single product structure error, and a lot of these errors were generated by users who, like I had said on a previous slide, they might have manually edited a product structure, or most times here, my users tend to initiate change notices incorrectly. Like I said, as long as the end result looks the same to them, it doesn't matter how they get there. So, like I said, that is the reasoning behind this presentation today. Ultimately, is trying to shift the focus of users into trying to understand why a process needs to be followed in a certain way, especially when it comes to maintaining product structure. So to alleviate these issues down the line and breaking lots of things. Okay, let me see what else we've got here. So I see here, so Johnny just sent one in. Does your CAD assembly model structure mirror exactly what the WT part structure is? Like I said, all of the CAD that is accounted for will always be in a WT part, but the WT part structure is not always representative of the CAD. We do use a lot of gathering parts and things like that to eventually get our product structure to what we need it to be. But all of the CAD objects and in assembly will always appear on our WT product structure, regardless of use. Like I said, we do use gathering parts and stuff to kind of filter all that. Let's see, Brian Scott asked, have you been able to use owner relationships only, or do you find needs of using image and content relationships? We use a combination of all of the possible relationships. It is obviously situational dependent, but I try not to let the users use that without without being under the guidance of a Windchill admin or something, because it may not be applicable to every situation. So as far as training goes, like for my users here, I just trained a group of them maybe a month or so ago, so that was kind of the extent I've gotten with them. But over the past 2 or so years, I have been actually pushing quite hard for what I'm liking to call here the philosophy training about why things need to be done, and it's not just applicable to product structure, maintenance or anything like that, but just philosophy training across all aspects of the design process. Yeah, like I said, we always tell our users how to do something, but I think we, as a community, need to start explaining actually why things need to be done in the way in which we are trying to tell them. See what else. So, okay. John Scarborough says, to help with maintaining product structure compatibility in change management, should the designer revise the WT part at the same time as the CAD drawing part in assembly? Yes. So all related objects, drawing, CAD part, WT part, if you have a document attached, described by document or anything like that, all of that needs to be revised through the change notice at the same time. So when you're in that implementation plan and you click revise, all of those objects need to be selected at the same time and revised as one unit. So I like to tell my users that when they initiate a change notice, the change notice should always be initiated from the WT part, and from there, because that is the central hub for all information, they can then collect all related objects at once, whether through the related objects button or you go and search for things when you're collecting the objects, but to always initiate from there to ensure that you're getting all of the objects necessary when revising. So bulk items. So Tim's asking, are the bulk items associated or are the WT parts standalone? So our bulk items, all our WT parts, they all come from a central library. We add them to our WT part product structure. That could be like thread, adhesive, stuff like that. But we used to actually add documents, document WT parts to our product structures, but that did not create the relationship that we actually wanted. So we started adding our documents to the product structure WT part as a reference, engineering reference document. So this, and obviously, so your described by documents and your reference documents each have different relationships. But for specific documents, like our company specifications and things like that, there'll be reference documents which allows that WT part to always be linked to the most recent up-to-date version of that spec. Whereas sometimes we'll attach another document as a describe by document, and we want version to version relationship with that, so that's going to be described by. Let's see, Ansel is asking, do you use auto associate? Yes, we do. So upon check-in, first check-in of our CAD data, we use auto associate, and it automatically creates WT part with the owner association. So Amanda's asked, what extension do you use in order to be able to configure your modules? I'm assuming she's asking about options and variants. So that is the options and variants add-on. It requires, you'd have to talk to your PTC rep about getting that. But you require options and variants in Creo, but then you also have the configurable aspect in Windchill. Let's see, Mike is asking, do you auto number everything or manual? So we do not use auto numbering here. Everything is manually numbered. When it comes to renames, rename functions, those always obviously have to be initiated from CAD, not from a WT part, unless you just have a WT part and there's no CAD. But no, we have not had issues with propagating that information. Let's see, Karsten's asking, do you have scenarios where multiple CAD models are required to represent the same item? For example, the same hose mounted in different locations leading to different shapes. And if so, how do you handle the association to WT part as that allows only one owner link? Yeah, so this is a perfect example of where we would use content or an image link depending on the quantity of instances that are needed for this. We do this a lot with coax cabling and things like that. So our CAD will be named differently. We might have coax 1, coax 2, coax 3, but it's the same part being routed 3 different ways, and it's all being tied back to one WT part. So whenever, if I have those 3 CAD instances in my upper level assembly, my upper level assembly product structure is going to report a quantity of 3 of the single WT part. Kristen asked, do you keep the revision of WT part and CAD owner the same? Yes, we do. We do revision sync and maintain WT part to CAD revisions. We do ensure that those stay the same throughout the life cycle. So usually when I see a problem, it makes it a lot easier. Actually, it makes it a lot easier for problems to appear, because because we maintain revision syncing, if a revision is out of sync, it's much easier to catch. So Mike asked follow-on question for the multiple CAD models to one WT part. For the multiple CAD models on one WT part, which was just discussed, if the WT part is released and an additional cable or hose is required with a different shape, requiring yet another CAD model, do you revise the WT part and release it in order to allow for another relationship to the new model, or just iterate it as released as an admin? Yes, we do. We will revise it because we do try to maintain, like I said, revision control. So because it has a new, there truly is a new part being added. Yeah, you know, actually, there could be instances where we could, as an admin, do that, but most times we do try to stay true to our change control and follow through with using the tools that we do have, and not try to skirt around it, which, you know, I know in certain situations can be done. Let's see what else we have. Okay, so let's see. Florin says, regarding the cable that we just talked about, if the subassembly is revised and it has a different shape, are you going to revise the upper level assemblies only to change the look of the assembly, even though the assembly is not changing? So that, you know, at what point you're going to have to, you know, ask yourself, using your engineering judgment, at what point do you stop revising the upper level assemblies? Or do you just continually keep all of your upper level assemblies in a constant state of change, because, you know, you're always having these ECNs down below to change things. So like I said, that's truly just engineering judgment on if you want to show it in a new configuration, then roll that into an ECN and update the product structure as such. So Kristen's asking, if a user wants to add a reference document to a WT part, how can they do that if a WT part is released and they cannot check out the WT part? So usually we add our document relationships from a WT part, but I believe, and I might be mistaken with this. I'd have to just double check, but I'm pretty sure that you can actually add a relationship from the document, initiated from the document back to the WT part, even though the WT part is released. So when you initiate a relationship to a document from a WT part, it requires you to check out the WT part and add that relationship. But if you do it in the opposite direction from a document back to a WT part, it does not require you to check out WT part. Let's do one more here. So Richard's saying, are you using end item parts as a deliverable version? Yeah, we do very vaguely use end items. I actually use them more in the context of configurable design than actual, production product management type stuff. Because ultimately it's our, the way in which we have our Windchill database set up is by spacecraft. So each spacecraft is then an end item. And we have that set up as such, but the concept of end items came in was more useful in the context of configurable design. All right, Madhavi.
Okay, Heather, thanks so much for taking the time to share with us the philosophy about product structure, which, as you mentioned, is not something that that we have a lot of material about or has been covered vastly before. So we truly appreciate you covering this topic. And I know there are a ton of questions, and there are a lot of people yes. And just so people know, the questions, they keep coming and the whole thing keeps scrolling. And so it's hard to kind of go back to all the questions. So what Heather and I have talked before the webinar is that we'll try and do a follow on, just a Q&A session. And Heather has kindly agreed to do that. So I'll work with Heather to set up the next webinar, possibly in the next week or two, but with Memorial Day coming up, maybe might be in the 2 weeks from now. So we'll figure out a good date and a day and send out the invite. And also perhaps we could request people to send their questions ahead of time. So that way we can kind of go through the questions. Given that there's a lot of questions, I think that'll be a great thing to do. And we have done that in the past as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And my email's on the screen too. So, if anyone wanted to ask any questions directly, feel free to send me an email.
Yep. Thank you. So thanks everybody for joining this call, and keep your questions coming, and we'll try to do another webinar. And thank you, Heather, for taking the time to talk to us. Appreciate it. You all have a good day, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you very much.